Hello and welcome to the Business Dashboard. My name is Bobie Osei. Coming up on the Business Dashboard today, high cost of loans from microfinance companies crippling businesses in the informal sector. Also, Ghana Post faces collapse due to huge legacy debt challenging its smooth operations. And NCA warns Glo and Surfline to ensure that customers are not affected by an impasse between the two companies. And later on, Kantanka Automobile to export 600 vehicles to some West African countries by close of the year. Details of these stories and other, including exclusive interviews, analysis on trending business issues, coming up now. Moving on to our first story. Now, a 25 million CD legacy debt, which was accumulated between 2012 and 2016 by the Ghana Post, is affecting the growth of the company. This is according to the acting managing director, James Kofi. Now, the debt is crippling the once viable Ghana Post, which used to create jobs for hundreds of Ghanaians. So how is the current administration working to turn around the fortunes of the company?
According to its records, Ghana Post ran at a loss for several years due to low revenue generation. It was also faced with logistic constraints and lack of IT equipment, including computers, to boost its operations. However, after a new management took over last year, the company recorded a 25% growth. But that is not enough to defray the debt. Acting Managing Director of the company, James Kofi, tells City News they will seek help from government to pay off the debt. According to records, Ghana Post ran at a loss for several years due to low revenue generation. It was also faced with logistic constraints and lack of IT equipment, including computers, to boost its operations. However, after a new management took over last year, the company recorded a 25% growth. But that is not enough to defray the debt. Acting Managing Director of the company, James Kofi, tells City News they will seek help from government to pay off the debt.
The Ghana Post legacy debt is quite huge and a big burden on us at the moment. It consists of end-of-service benefits, provident fund arrears, and a few statutory components. It's quite a huge sum. The number keeps changing, so I wouldn't want to mention the number now, but it's quite low.
How is that affecting your current operation?
Well, legacy debt is debt that was acquired, some of them as far back as 2012, 2013. And so if you have to be servicing them now in 2017 and 2018, then it's obviously a drain on the business, because money that you're supposed to use to do reinvestment is being used to service past debt, and therefore it keeps you still.
Well, turning our attention to housing, government is planning to roll out a housing scheme in 2019 to help alleviate the challenges of public sector workers. The move follows agitation from the Trades Union Congress lamenting the deplorable state in which public sector workers live due to low incomes. There is more in the City Business News Desk report.
Delivering the mid-year budget review in Parliament, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta hinted that government is adopting a new approach to compensate public sector workers with decent houses due to pressure from the IMF to cut down on public sector wages. According to him, public sector wage takes away about 50% of domestic revenue collection. Mr. Ofori-Atta stated that government will meet civil society organizations, labor, and all relevant stakeholders before the new housing scheme is captured in the 2019 budget.
So should I be paying 50% of my revenue to 650,000 people? And you say no. But then what does that mean? It means, therefore, that maybe we are driving towards 35%. But then that is a shared agreement. So currently, what is the quality of life that we want? We want you to be educated so that you can have decent jobs. We want a roof over your head, etc. You want food, shelter, and clothing. We have done the part to start off education because the human capital is key. You know, we're going to have to now discuss with Labour about a new housing scheme.
Meanwhile, Labour has maintained that it will not renege on getting decent houses for public sector workers. Reiterating the points, the Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Yao Ba, recalled that public sector workers have faced challenges in the past 3 years after the IMF compelled governments not to increase public sector wage. On his part, Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, has disclosed that his outfit has put together a document that will be going before Cabinet for approval.
The major policy now, as I'm talking about, is we need to bear in mind that there are new technologies in rolling out houses. The kind of arrangment in which you believe that without raw, cement and then iron rods, you can't live in a good house, it's over. Prefabricated materials that houses could be rolled out even in 3 months and bring down the cost down. We're also looking at Ghanaians, are we interested in flats? People believe that without a garden and a wall, that's no house. But in any advanced form of, housing delivery, you can see that flats are one of the best ways to house a lot of people.
Meanwhile, some Labour analysts have stated that public sector workers may still demand a wage increase, particularly in an election year where the government provides the houses or not.
The Ministry of Finance is indicating that there are a number of things government is ready to do for workers, which will cushion them from whatever policy that they will come out on wage. And one of them is the housing. I think that when I made an argument that workers have suffered so much in the last 3 to 4 years in terms of wage decline, and then they discuss what we can do to make sure workers don't suffer continuously. Then I said workers need houses. If you give houses up, I can assure you that they can work together on the rest of the economy and make sure Ghana gets where we want to get. Especially this vision of Ghana Beyond Aid. We buy into it. I'm a member of the committee and the president means it. And we work together to it.
Meanwhile, on the telecommunications front, the National Communications Authority, NCA, has asked telecommunications companies Glo and Surfline to ensure that consumers are not affected by an ongoing impasse between the two companies. A statement released by the NCA stated that the impasse was due to a financial tussle between the two telecom companies. Here are excerpts of the statement.
The NCA, during the impasse, met with both Glo and Surfline to determine the details and extent of the issue. After various engagements, the authority advised both parties to refer all disputes between them for further and external actions if need be. On their part, Surfline was cautioned to ensure that they meet all obligations to all stakeholders to avoid a repetition of such issues and to ensure that their customers duly receive the benefits of the services they had subscribed to. The Surfline network has since been restored. In conclusion, the NCA wishes to inform all consumers and the general public that the authority is committed to protecting consumers as well as ensuring that players within the communications industry abide and comply with the relevant regulations and license obligations for sustained and continuous telecommunication services.
You're still watching the Business Dashboard here on City TV. Still to come, Kantanka Automobile says it will be exporting about 600 vehicles to other West African nations later on.
The City FM Literacy Challenge is back. Are you a JHS student? Are you willing to contribute to change? What would you do if you were the president of Ghana? Do you want to win a whopping 10,000 Ghana cedis? If yes, then participate in the Literacy Challenge 2018. Level 1. The year is 2035. The law allows people below age 40 to contest the presidency. As a presidential candidate in a general election, in no less than 600 words, write your manifesto speech. Remember, letter must be in your own handwriting, must be endorsed by a parent or guardian. Add your full contact details and post to The Literacy Challenge. P.O. Box GP 14123 Accra Central, or drop it off at the front desk of City FM at the Braka behind the police station. Level 2. The top 50 students selected from all over Ghana shall take a written general knowledge quiz. And finally, Level 3. The top 10 students shall compete in the classic quiz competition to win the ultimate prize of 10,000 Ghana cedis. The Literacy Challenge is powered by 97.3 City FM and sponsored by Data Bank Edifund and MoneyGram with support from City TV. Closing date for entries is Friday, 10th August 2018. Call 0205-973-973 for more inquiries. Terms and conditions apply.
It's engaging, detailed, and loaded with factual and incisive analysis. It's The Big Issue, your preferred Saturday morning news and current affairs analysis program on City TV. Tune in this and every Saturday at 9 a.m. and hear the newsmakers discuss the top issues for the week.
At that time, Charlotte was complex. I'm not defending Charlotte. I'm talking about the way we behave like hypocrites and ostriches in this country. At that time, she was a perfect person.
It's The Big Issue with Sela Madonu on City TV. This and every Saturday at 9 a.m.
You're welcome back to the Business Dashboard. Let's bring you some more from the world of business. The Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Ken Thompson, is asking the Bank of Ghana to mount pressure on the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, to prosecute officials of collapsed banks. The country is said to have lost 8.8 billion Ghana cedis as a result of the collapse of some banks. A report in the Daily Graphic has revealed that EOCO delayed the prosecution of officials of the defunct UT and Capital banks a year after the Bank of Ghana had submitted a full dossier to it. But speaking to City Business News, Mr. Thompson called on the governor of the Bank of Ghana to get EOCO to deal with officials found complicit immediately.
The amount that the government that we have lost as taxpayers this morning is about 8.8 billion. We are not angry enough. And if you read the reports, one group took 5.6 billion and give to loans to their wives, friends, associates, etc. We should be angry. We're not angry enough. And anybody who is culpable should be prosecuted, locked up, the keys thrown away. This issue about EOCO not working quickly, for me, I don't buy it. I put the governor as responsible. He's responsible for ensuring that we have a sound financial system. He should put whatever pressure he puts on EOCO to do the job. And we are all watching.
Well, moving on to some international business stories, the World Bank's Vice President for Africa has made a call on African nations to consider increasing access to markets within the region to help offset the effect of increased U.S. protectionism. Hafez Ghanem, in an interview in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, said the region may need to expand market access to absorb the cost arising from the hike in tariffs. This, he added, would include strengthening trade among African countries. In June, the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump imposed a 25% duty on steel and 10% levy on aluminum from South Africa, the European Union, Canada and Mexico after refusing their calls for permanent exemptions. While Africa's trade with the rest of the world expanded 11% to $907.6 billion last year, the portion of trade within the continent declined to 14% of the total, the African Export-Import Bank said in a July report. Talks to establish the African Continental Free Trade Area with a combined gross domestic product of more than $3 trillion started in 2015, and in May, Ghana and Kenya became the first countries to ratify the deal. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the agreement in July and will soon ratify it, he said at the time. Moving on, China has said it will levy new tariffs on more than 5,200 U.S. products if the White House moves forward with its latest tariff threat. Now, the Chinese State Council outlined the plan just days after the U.S. said it was considering higher tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods than initially planned. Now, Chinese officials accuse the U.S. of unilaterally heightening tensions between the two economic giants. In Friday's announcement, China said it is readying tariffs on U.S. items that include agriculture and energy products, leather and machinery. They said the duties would range from 5% to 25% on $60 billion worth of products. Beijing said the timing of the new tariffs would depend on whether the U.S. follows through on its threat. China accounted for about 16% of America's trade in goods last year. The country exported about $500 billion in goods to the U.S. and imported about $130 billion. In our final international story for the night, online retail giant Amazon's UK tax bill fell last year despite a near trebling of profits. Now, Amazon UK services bill was £4.6 million, down from £7.4 million a year ago, accounts show. But the division which operates the warehouse fulfillment centers was able to defer £2.9 million. Now, it meant that the company has paid £1.7 million in tax for now, even though pre-tax profits jumped from £24.3 million to £72.3 million. Amazon said it paid all the taxes required by UK law. One reason for the lower tax bill was a rise in share-based payments for staff. Amazon said that full-time warehouse staff on average have received shares worth more than £1,000 a year. As Amazon's share price has risen so sharply, these are often worth more when they are sold to the open stock market. That sale price is the one on which the tax bill for both the company and the individual is based. Well, on that note, we are going for a break. When we return, we'll bring you some more of the latest business stories right here on the Business Dashboard. Stay with us.
Live music, interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
Well, you're welcome back to the Business Dashboard on City TV. My name is Bobby Osei. Let's take some more business stories. A latest register released by the Bank of Ghana revealed that there are currently 484 licensed microfinance companies operating in the country as at August 2018. There are also 70 microcredit companies also in operation. Now, the major clientele of these companies are people within the informal sector, including market women. But how do market women who need about 2,000 cedis to purchase dry fish from Winneba to Accra raise this money and pay an interest of 40% charged by these microfinance companies? Nanoya Grasmo in this report.
pray I wish me ba sa papa na mansalaka 20 million so mama 10 million na what you bia mutua 500,000 mushi me sia ito ya call if water atamodo on what you be water atamodo mutu mintina fie no so kaka akra na no so mutua come wie na fie do 30 million no bobu oi 30 million na ewo na mu wasimpa na mamu na watama na fie da makatina wo na fie me yedwuma kaka aka na me da asene me yedwuma kaka aka na me da asene nti loan an brasi bela akumoto mi bela nyim mama ya won tan.
Auntie Essie Abokoma is not the only one who has to go through so much struggle to repay a loan facility she took from a microfinance company. Many market women are forced to secure a loan with interest rates as high as 35% as capital because they have no alternative means of raising money to purchase their produce. Mami Araba narrates how difficult it was for her to even receive the amount she needed from one of such finance.
You turn the energy loan, any idea? Until the yana could do tambia school fees na didn't training to I am walk from and won't go from one eja why na crack na and won't go from one why ka crack said the bear jaba for swan to be area. No as I could answer loan I would be so I had interest no I was sure. And so I say wunye bintu na say wo gina saa na wo de yesa nti ya na ya nwotrema e okwaji so ka mo ka say de ba ma week e bia be 2 weeks na 3 weeks bia 1 month kwan sa na won saka so wo ka say 30 e be ma 15 so wo ka say 20 e bia 10 million e de ba ma e bi kra so e dwuma we e bia wo kita 50 million kra wo de ye kra enso na ma 50 na wo say wo gina saa na e dwa no so e bi wo ho a e de bi wo ho a ye e de bi wo so ba na e dwa na ye de enye enso na sense wo akwaji lo nta wo say wo for say ubetia we mama intene se skin mu kra utumi skin mu a na wo de tua fa sampo loans in se de ba ya wo so ho ba han wo ha
financial companies. For Auntie Abina, after several bad experiences with these financial institutions, she has decided not to go for a loan, although she doesn't have any capital to trade with. She would rather sell for friends for a small fee to take care of her.
No ni bi su omo na ya ka no watata o wa kumetu ibi na mpona akumetu ngoti me ya hwe me zae me ya nkwo so mo kroyin mo nkwa da ma kumetu ndi dan ma kumetu yin mama me yare ndi me etu emu ka kotua teze me wie me nde godu e kana wo mo 30 million wo 10 million e bi 30 million no am 20 million ndi 20 million ni bi efi no ho yen aga do ho yen ankasa ho yen de ya bo ho yen ma bre no do so do nti mi obi na wa akwoto na ma agbodwo yen no me na ato wa ma fa isi bi that be
family. The Bank of Ghana has reduced its policy rate to 18%, but this does not even influence commercial banks, not to talk of microfinance companies. So why do these institutions choke customers they claim they care about so much and want to help grow their businesses with such high interest rates? Chinebua Kodua Boache is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Association of Savings.
The market available to savings and loans companies. We go to the banks who have borrowed at a relative lower rate and borrow from the bank. So the bank will lend to the savings and loans at the same rate like lending to the normal businessman. But of course, there are some savings and loans who have cheaper lending rates. And I can say on authority that some of the savings and loans companies even have lower interest rates as far as loans are concerned, comparing to any commercial bank.
And loans companies. He offers some answers. For Mr. Chinebua Kodua, loyalty on the part of customers can encourage the microfinance company
and loans company in Ghana, as far as members of the association is concerned, is worried about the high interest rates that they charge. But there are certain things that most of them too have started doing. you know that as you stick to a particular financial institution for a certain period of time, your risk profile is well determined and we can project and determine what will happen.
It's difficult, but they have no option. These market women would have to continue to rob Peter to pay Paul. For City News, I am Nanawe Yankra.
Now, financial analysts have advised the government to tread cautiously with its plan to support local banks to meet the new minimum capital requirements. They say the move could trigger another round of unfair competition for the local banking subsector if not checked properly. The government has announced that it will support efficient local banks to meet the 400 million cedi capital by December 31. Pius Emihie Duku speaks to some industry analysts on the issue in our report.
The government says it is interested in building strong local banks despite the merging of 5 others into the consolidated bank. A statement from the Ministry of Finance following the announcement of the merger on Wednesday alluded to the plan of helping the banks meet the 400 million cedis minimum capital by December 31, 2018. The caveat, however, is that the indigenous banks must be solvent, well-governed, and managed and in full compliance with the Bank of Ghana's regulatory requirement. Economist Professor Godfred Bokpin tells City Business News the plan is laudable as it will make the local banks more competitive.
I think that that is quite good. Of course, we would have expected that demand and supply, the market dynamics will pick the winners and the losers. But sometimes you also want to intervene from the regulatory point of view, from government, from other stakeholders. And yes, we just can't allow pure market dictates to select the winners and the losers.
Financial analyst Professor AKQ Abuaji fears such a move could widen the capital gap between local and foreign banks if not properly monitored to the latter.
Sometime back 2008, thereabouts, when the capital was raised, the local banks ran to them president. The president gave them some reprieve, i.e. they took longer time to raise the capital that was needed. That's the experience that we have had. Maybe they have something like that in mind. But guess what that did to them? The foreign banks got the capital that was needed, mandated at the time. Local banks too long to get that capital. By the time they came back, even though they got the capital, they were far behind those guys. The foreign banks started the capital early, and they have never been able to catch up.
Meanwhile, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has indicated of liquidity support to ADB and NIB to reflect the government's agenda.
Now, indigenous automobile company Kantanka Automobile has disclosed that demand for their vehicles across the West African sub-region is growing. The company, which produces cars with brand names such as Mensa, Omama, and Onantefo, has stated that it has already sold 400 cars so far this year compared to the 200 it sold for the whole of last year. The CEO of the company, Kojo Safu Jr., said this to City Business News after it opened its showroom in Accra. There is more in this report.
I'm not going to mention the names, but we have more than 600 orders from 2 West African countries, as a matter of fact, to deliver before December. 600. I mean, we have to deliver about 200 Mensa and 400 pickups.
Well, that's all by way of news on the Business Dashboard. For more news, do visit citybusinessnews.com. My name is Bobby Osei. Many thanks for your time. We'll see you another time with Business Dashboard.